Yo, so I'm it's January 23rd. I'm in Georgia, so we're expecting to be frozen in sometime this weekend, and I figured I have nothing better to do, so I got some guitar strings. Normally I use Super Slinkies. Uh, I want to try these Mighty Slinkies, which is just a little bit lighter. It's not quite the I forgot which one's the extra Slinkies. I think is what it's called. It's like 8.5s instead of 8s. Um, And I've seen the Slinky Cobalts, and these Cobalt strings and the strings with different materials over and over and over again. And I've never really used them. So today is just an excuse for me to use them, and I'm going to review them. Um, I've never really went out of my way to buy them because they're usually about $3 to $4 more, sometimes $10 more than a normal pack of strings. And like it's advertised as having a higher frequency response. I don't really know if that's true. Um, I'm suspecting that this is going to be a waste of money, but it was $10, and I'd never really seen these for $10 at any of my local stores. And the normal ones were $7, so I figured three extra bucks. Worst case scenario is it's a waste of $3, but I'm gonna see if I actually like it. So I'm gonna string. So I got the Fender here. I have it tuned to drop D. I think it was because I was practicing some sort of Avenged Sevenfold song. But the strings are about a week or two old, so they aren't quite as crispy as a new pair. But this is how they sound with normal Slinkies. You kind of get the idea. We're gonna restring, and I'm just gonna basically see if it's worth it. I think normally it has a little bit more bite to it whenever you put new strings on. I'm hoping that it at least has more bite. It says for output and clarity. I don't really buy that, but we're just gonna play with it. Friendly reminder: uh, always, especially when you have a quality instrument, always make sure you're cleaning them. This one has a really nice glossy finish, but it's really bad about fingerprints. And I'm really anal about cleaning the neck. Sometimes I use a little bit too much lemon oil, but using just a little bit and not rubbing it in too hard and just kind of getting extra finger debris off, never really a bad thing. If you have a little air compressor, a little thing that shoots air for electronics, that's usually pretty good for getting dust out of saddles and like kind of the nooks and crannies of the guitar that you can't always necessarily reach. So for this guitar, because I am anal and this is my most expensive guitar, which, funnily enough, it was $600. For me, that's an expensive guitar. For a lot of other people, it's not. Uh, don't do that. Yeah, it's fun. Don't hit it on the table. But I have a dedicated microfiber cloth for it. Uh, it's just something that I kind of go over every so often, just wiping extra debris off. And I kind of go up and down the neck a little bit. And I do this kind of like whenever I'm done using it. But now that the strings are off, especially in between the pickups and the bridge, you can kind of just wipe down some areas that you can't always necessarily reach. I clean this frequently enough to where it doesn't really need a whole lot of cleaning right now. When you change your strings pretty frequently and you regularly clean them up, you don't have to like anally clean it. Certainly don't bang it on the table. Sorry, I don't have a professional workstation like some of these other people, but some of us have real bills. They really spruce up the packaging to make you feel like it's a lot more expensive. I feel like this is like a marketing thing too, because this feels like it's a higher quality paper thing, but it's just a thing to hold the string. Because now that I actually touch the string, I can't tell a difference. But maybe I'm wrong. I can't tell if these higher strings are shinier than normal, or if maybe the other strings were just older than I thought they were. But this seems shinier than I'm used to. Got it strung up. Now it's time to get in tune. The higher strings do feel different. And now that I keep looking at it, the lower strings do Because it is coated, right? Or is it just a different material? I probably should have paid attention. Cobalt electric guitar string. So I guess the whole thing's made of cobalt. It definitely seems like it's made of a different material, and like the G string, I accidentally bent it putting in, and so now there's like a natural bend to it, so I have to unbend it while tuning it. So definitely a little bit stiffer, definitely a little bit of a different feel, stringing it up. So let's tune it and see how it goes. I'd be lying if I said it didn't sound different. Does it sound better? I don't know. I feel like it's not as trebly as I'm used to for new strings. This is on my bridge pickup. If I'm being honest, they're not bad. I don't think they're worth the price tag for what I see most of the time, but when I see them for $10, I think it's not too bad of a price for these. And I'm kind of surprised that I'm saying that because I'm very, very used to. I'm a very, very cheap person. The Cobalt feels different. I don't know why. I guess it really does make a difference on the material and at least how it feels. I will say that a lot of the feeling that I'm getting also is the same feeling that you get from newer strings. Some of it might be psychosomatic, but I really do feel I don't really have a setup to where I can do a scientific test. But for $10.99 compared to $6.99, I don't really think it's that bad. It's at least fun to experiment with it. At least it's different. I do feel like there's a little bit more output, but not so much that it's not noticeable. Like I don't feel like it's a necessary purchase. However, I do feel like if you're needing like high quality strings, uh, and like you don't really mind spending the extra money, if you don't mind spending the extra money, go for it. I will say that there is a noticeable difference. Do I think it's necessarily an improvement? Not enough to justify more money for me. Um, Maybe if I'm doing studio time, which then I would probably care a lot more about the particular strings that I'm using. But for the most part, you know, normal slinkies for me, or even like Diodario or any reputable string brand has worked for me pretty fine. I'm not really so anal about it that I feel a need to put these on all of my guitars. Because I still like to experiment with different string gauges. I still like to experiment with different tunings. I change my strings frequently enough to where I like the bite of a fresh pair of strings, and I don't necessarily feel that bite with these. I do feel like there might be like a different. The tone feels slightly different to me, but I don't know if that's just psychosomatic again. It could just be me hearing it now, and I just haven't heard a new set of strings for a while. I feel like there's less bite, but more volume. Uh, it definitely feels like there's a different material there. I think it's useful, especially if you want to have strings that don't necessarily sound worn, but they don't have that extreme bite to them. Which, I mean, you still have an EQ though. You have all of these extra things that go with it. If you need more output, I don't think that strings are the answer. I think that keeping a fresh pair of strings so that you have a quality set of strings on for most of the time, especially if you're recording, is probably valuable. And if you want to spend the extra money for that, then sure. But I don't know. You have a volume knob. I have a pedal. You know, I use the ME90, so I feel like I already have so much control over my sound. I don't think the thing that I'm missing is strings. I think it's just technique and practice and spending more time with playing and grinding away a little bit more and changing strings a little bit more frequently when I need to. Which changing strings I think is just a good habit to get yourself into, having a string gauge that you're pretty comfortable with and getting comfortable with your particular guitar. Again, this is my most expensive guitar. It is my newest guitar. Um, it is not the most comfortable guitar for me to play because I've played on the Ibanez for so long. I think it's more important for me to get more hours on this instrument, so that way I'm not still so biased towards my Ibanez because I'm so used to the spacing for those strings. You know, this is a guitar that I plan on playing for a long time, so I just have to get a little bit more comfortable with it. Understand that the strings aren't quite as far apart. Understand that the settings on this is slightly different. The way that you get the sounds that you want is slightly different. And, you know, other guitars that I get, if I need them, or if I don't need them, or if I change pickups, like, I don't really even think those things are necessary. I'm thinking about getting Fishmans, but I'm not really too sold on that either. Because, again, I have a pedal board, you know, and even without that, I have plugins for my computer. I don't really need to buy 500 different guitars other than the fact that I like having 500 different guitars. I don't need to buy different strings other than the fact that I like trying different strings. And it's not the end of the world to me. So that's my review. They're cool. They're neat. If you want to try them and you like them, go for it. I wouldn't spend more than $15 on them. But if you want to, then it's none of my fucking business.